Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Jewish Inspiration Podcast. We are in the middle of Orchot Tzaddikim, Ways of the Righteous, in the Treasure for Life edition on page 495. The gate of envy, jealousy, envy. Are they the same? We'll see in a few moments. But what I would like to clarify is that when we talk about envy, when we talk about jealousy, what's really happening when we talk about jealousy? Jealousy is when I'm not pleased with what I have. I look at what someone else has and I want what they have. So in the very foundation, in the very core of it, I'm not in agreement with what the Almighty decided. He decided that they should have a nicer watch, a nicer car, different children, different spouse than me. And I am jealous because I want that. Right? I want that. So I am sort of in a disagreement with the Almighty about, what I should be getting. That's really the core of it. So now we're in the 14th gate. So envy, hakino hi anaf min akas, is an offshoot. Envy is an offshoot of anger. Ve'ein adam nimlat mimena, and there's no one who escapes from this negative trait. Ki anachnu roim, for we see with our eyes, asher kol bnei adam nimshachim ish acharei eyu, that people follow the trends of what their friends do. We are attracted to what others are doing. Ki kaasher hu ra shechavero kone kinyan minyane olam hein mimine amacholim hein mimine abgadim o bone bayis o me'asif mammon. Whether it is that we see someone else acquiring worldly acquisitions, a nice car, right? Whatever it may be, nice clothes, whether it be food, whether it be a new house, whether it be money, whatever it is, then every person desires. And if you think about it, what is all of fashion? What is all of fashion? Fashion, what is fashion? Think, how many times did you see something and you're like, that is the craziest thing in the world. I can't believe anybody would walk around dressed like that. And then 3 months later, we see ourselves wearing it. Why? Because that same jealousy kicks in. For whatever reason, we fall into that same trap ourselves. And this is something we need to be very careful about. And this is what we're going to be elaborating on tonight. He endeavors to do likewise, thinking, my friend has this, I want it also. This was intimated by Shlomo HaMelech. This is something that King Saul, Chaveru yesh lo zeh, gam li yeh kach, v'dov zeh ramaz Shlomo HaMelech. And this is what King Solomon hinted to. V'ro'isi ani es kol amol v'es kol kishroin hamase ki hi kinas ish mireyu. King Solomon says in Ecclesiastes the following, and I saw that all toil and all excellence of workmanship was one man's envy of another. So this problem of jealousy is not a new generational thing. The sound is okay? Do here because the sound is not coming through well. Okay. V'ra'isi ani is kol omo v'es kol kishoroin hamase ki hi kinas ish mireyehu. Mi shehamida hazos miskaberas alav. One who is overpowered by this trait is extremely despicable because envy brings one to lust. Umiguna ma'od ki akina mevia lidei chimud. Ki kisha eino nosin el libo. When a person does not take to heart what others have, he doesn't lust. But the moment that his heart is drawn towards what his friend has, and he's jealous and he covets and desires what other people have, then he becomes envious of what other people have. As we know, the Torah in the Big Ten Ten Commandments tells us, do not covet your neighbor's wife and all that belongs to your neighbor. So this is a big problem. If a person is trapped in this world of jealousy. And again, jealousy comes from our eyes. We look and we see what someone else has, and then we desire it. When someone else has something, we think, hey, I want it too. And that becomes a big, big problem. Ikasher chomed oz, who gozel, and when he covets, he steals. Kidichsiv v'chamdu sdos v'gazolu. And they coveted fields and they stole them. So this is a pattern that happens. I remember, I'm going to share with you a story that I've shared before about my brother's bar mitzvah. My father at the time, may live and be well, my father at the time was doing pretty well in business. And my brother, my oldest brother, was going to have his bar mitzvah a few months later. They went to a relative's bar mitzvah. And it was a very, very simple bar mitzvah. My brother, on the way out of the bar mitzvah, says to my father, he says, my bar mitzvah is going to be a lot nicer than that, won't it? You can afford a much nicer bar mitzvah. So my father said, no, actually, you're going to have something very similar. He says, why? Yeah, I mean, you can afford something so much nicer than that. I mean, this was like the simplest bar mitzvah ever. My father said, I might be able to afford it. But can all the kids in your class afford it? They're going to go home after we have a real fancy bar mitzvah, and they're going to say to their father, I want a bar mitzvah like Wolby had. And what's the father going to do? He says, my son is only going to be bar mitzvah once in his lifetime. Got to give him what he wants. Father's going to go cheat and steal and borrow money that he can't return just so that he can live up to the Joneses, live up to the Friedmans, right? It's a terrible, terrible thing. This is something that I think we need to be very conscious of because it's not something, it's just a simple thing. Our children pick up on it. If we aren't cognizant, we had a big window in the front of our house. But you know what else was on that window? Shades. We didn't look out. We didn't look out to what the neighbor has. Oh, they got a new car. Oh, they got a new, they're building a new house. They painted, they got a new roof. They got this or that. Didn't make a difference to us. We looked inside. Our job is to look inside, not to look outside. That's something my father was very conscious of, very extremely conscious to ensure that it was to ensure that it was very, very, very clear to us that we had everything we needed and we were going to try to do everything we can to serve Hashem with exactly what He gave us. So, my dear friends, let's continue here. Okay. And one whom lust mounts to that someone is overcome with lust is very close to transgressing the Ten Commandments. But there was once a man who had a wicked neighbor. And they had a gate separating, a wall separating between the two properties. And this wicked man lusted after his neighbor's wife and some of his possessions. Yom Echad, Erev Shabbos, one Friday, he heard his neighbor telling his wife, I want to go away for the day on business. And he did so. What did the wicked person do? Arei over al zochar v'shamar. What did he do? He knocked down the wall between their two houses. What did he do? Prohibition of demolition on Shabbos. And he went and he violated the woman, which is what? Committed adultery. What's that? That's Hare Avar Alosinaf. He committed, it says, thou shalt not commit adultery, which is one of the 10 commandments. Did that. Then he started stealing their money, stealing their riches. When he started stealing, the woman started then yelling. What happened? He killed her. Now, he didn't only break the Shabbos, he also did, thou shalt not commit adultery. He also did, thou shalt not steal. He also did, thou shalt not murder. And then he also violated, you shall not covet your neighbor's home. The next day, his parents started yelling at him and screaming at him, reprimanding him for what he had done. So he hit them. It says that you should honor your father and mother. One of the 10 commandments. He violated that as well by hitting them. And then he was brought to the Beit Din, to the court. He lied to the Beit Din, to the court, that these objects, he was just taking back what was his because this was collateral that he gave them. And what happened? He just went back to get his own, what he had given them as a collateral. And they couldn't take what he stole out of his hands. Ad achshav sheshibra alistim esakosa shabenem v'horgu esaisha v'kisheshama ha'ish ha'ariga nichnas gamhu v'lokat avoto are over al losane bereacha et shaker. Says, entrusted to that this object that he had stolen, he said, was entrusted by them, and he had been able to reclaim it until now that the robbers had broken the wall and killed his wife. And hearing of it, he too has gone in and taken his pledge, thus transgressing, do not testify falsely. Okay. In every place that he went, and then he would swear up and down, right and left, wherever he went, that he did not do anything. And because of the embarrassment of people accusing him that he did these terrible acts, he went and betrayed God, left religion, and then betrayed the first commandment of the 10 commandments, which is, I am Hashem your God. Lasof haya oduk b'avodah zara v'hishtachava v'ovad lo, and then he became an idol worshiper, and he bowed down and he served the idols, thus transgressing the second commandment. Lo yilacha l'kim acherim al panai v'lo tishtachava lohem v'lo savdem. You shall not have any other gods besides me, and do not bow down to them and do not serve them, which he also transgressed. V'chol zeh goram lo achimod. And all of this came about how? By jealousy. Nimtza shahachomed korov lavar al kol haTorah. We see from here that when someone is jealous, they can transgress the entire Torah. The entire Torah falls apart. But all 613 mitzvahs essentially can be devoid in a person who goes against the one commandment of not being jealous. This is a very, very important thing. We need to remember this every single day of our lives. I'm just trying to get things back up and running here on our Zoom So here we go. I apologize. Okay. So now we are going to, this concludes day number 83. And now, my dear friends, we're going to continue on the bottom of page 500 in the Treasure for Life edition of the Orchot Tzaddikim with a continuation in the chapter of envy. Ach, yesh derech acheres keroiva lahaski v'lahavin eich hakino v'achemda mekalkalos ba'adam. There's a very easy way, a clear way of knowing and understanding how envy and lust ruin a person. V'hu al derech she'amar Shlomo. This is what King Solomon teaches us. Al yekane libcha b'chatoim im b'yiras Hashem kol hayom. Let your heart not envy sinners, but be in fear of Hashem all day. So when a person is jealous of sinners, and he's jealous of their wealth, he's jealous of their success, and he sees righteous people who are struggling, they're suffering with poverty and other afflictions. Tigal nafsho b'yiras Elokim u'b'mishpata v'chukav v'yimas lomdei haTorah mekaimel, and his soul despises fear of Hashem, his judgment and his statutes, and he despises those who observe the Torah. Ki inyan shenemar chozku olai divrechem Amar Hashem v'amartem ma nidbarnu olecha. Actually, from my Torah. So, what your words have been strong against me, says Hashem. Yet you say, "What have we spoken against you?" Amartem shov avoid elikim umabetza ki shomarnu mishmarto ki olachnu kudoranis mipnei Hashem tzvakos ve'ata anachnu ma'ashrim zeidim gam nivnu osei risho. What is he saying here? You have said, it is vain to serve Hashem. And what does it profit us that we have kept his charge and have walked submissively before Hashem of hosts? And now we call the sinners happy. They who perform wickedness are built up. Even they who test Hashem escape. So there's a short-term vision problem that happens with people who are jealous. There's a short-term vision. What's the short-term vision problem? They only think of the now. They don't see a big picture. Right now, I want that. So what's standing in my way? Oh, God. So God must be terrible. And people jump to such a conclusion. They're like, look at all the wicked people in the world. They look like they're doing pretty well. Look at the wicked people. They're successful. Look at the righteous. They're impoverished. They're poor. They're struggling. This attitude brings foolishness into man's mind and turns their hearts backwards when they see the wicked prospering and the righteous being afflicted. This is a backwards word. Osam Rasha Vitolo Vitzadik Viralo. Umitoch Kach Holchem Bishrios Libam. But now what do? They're like, I have to be like the wicked because look at them, they're successful. They're driving nice cars, etc., etc. V'omrim ploni uploni osim kach ve'mashirim. Look at those sinners. They're doing terrible things. They cheat, they steal. Look, they have what seems to be externally a beautiful life. V'chein naaseh gam anachnu. We'll do the same. We'll use the same recipe and we'll be successful. We'll get the good life. Eat, drink, and be merry. For tomorrow you die. Right? It's all about what we have here. And if we have in this world, we have what it is that we want, then we're fulfilled. We succeeded. We succeeded. That's not true. Umashi yikr lehem yikr gam lanu. And what the same things that happen to them, we see their success. Same thing will happen to us. V'chol zeh machmas kina, and all of this comes from jealousy. Shemekane v'rushoyim v'chomed as oshram v'shalvasam. because they're jealous of their wealth and they're jealous of their tranquility. Lefichach porkem aleim ol hamitzvos, and therefore they let go of godliness and God's commands because they're running after the momentary, fleeting world, not the eternal world. This is, my friend, this is going down to the real core of what it is that we're living for. What is it that we're living for? Are we living for now? If we're living for now, then maybe you're right. But if this is a three-dimensional world where we're not only living for here, we're living for the world to come, and we're investing in a much greater cause, a much greater world, a world, because it doesn't make sense. We all know that we have a soul, a lofty, holy neshama, right? We have a very, very holy neshama. Let me ask you, we have a holy neshama, why do we die? Because we have to give that neshama back. One thing, we should live forever. If we're living for here, we should live forever. But we don't live here forever. We all know that nobody lives forever. Why don't we live forever? Because this place, this world, filled with challenge, filled with temptation, is a workshop in earning our keep for the world to come. That's what this world is about. And the righteous see that. So they say, you know what? Have a little bit of an inconvenience here, struggling, quote unquote, financially, having a little bit more difficulty, but look at the world. Look at how beautiful my life is. Not now, always. Orchot Tzaddikim einam mekanim b'rishoyim ve'einam cholim lo b'monav lo b'shavasam. Yachshavu she'osham shamur lehem lo ra'asam. B'shavasam lahabidam mirov tuv atzofan l'tzaddikim. Is because they consider their wealth is stored up for them. We know that for us, our reward is not meant to be here. Our reward is meant to be in the world to come, where it's eternal, where it's everlasting, where it's real. Our sages tell us that all of the pleasures of this world combined. So imagine all the pleasure you have in your life, but not only of you, of all of mankind combined, all of that pleasure combined does not equal one moment of pleasure in the world to come. Right? Imagine that. Imagine the wealth. People over here in this world that we're living in today, this modern culture, everything's about money. Everything's about money. Imagine that you amass all of the wealth of what every single human being has. Not only the money that you made your whole life is still in your bank account, but everything that everybody has ever made since Adam and Eve till today, you have. You have that money. Imagine that. That's a lot of money. That's not even a penny in the world to come. Not even a penny. So, the righteous, they're not jealous of anyone. The only thing that a righteous person should be jealous of is the good deeds of another person. You see someone learning more. You see someone growing more, praying better. That's something to be jealous of. I want to excel. Oh, it gives us a motivation. Hopefully. V'yachshavu she'oni tzaddikim v'dochkom kedei letzarfom v'lelabnom kedei lahagdil ma'alosam le'olam haba. Ve'ein sofek mi shechoshev kach lo yachmod v'lo yikane. Anybody who sees that the righteous, why don't the righteous, you think the righteous can't make money? Think they're not smart enough? They're brilliant in Torah, they're brilliant in everything else. They can't make money, they can't do business. They can't be the richest man on earth. They can. But they're putting everything aside so that they can invest in the world to come. Lo yachmod v'lo yikane. So therefore, they're not jealous of anybody else because they know if I start getting distracted and focusing on amassing wealth in this world, it's just going to pull me away from the next world. But rather, they become happy, they rejoice when they see the tranquility of the wicked. Yomar im lemach isav kach laoser itzono lokol shekain sheyitin v'yachzer v'yitin. What do the righteous say? They say, if this is the reward that someone who angers Hashem gets, imagine someone who goes against Hashem. Yesterday was the Grammys. There's nothing good to say about it. From what I hear, it was a repulsive, disgusting event. The way people dressed, it was just repulsive. Let me ask you a question. Those are the people who are wealthy. Those are the people who are successful. Those are the people who have money, and they have the women, and they have access, and they have, seemingly, these are the happy people of the world. But what do we know? If this is the way the lowlives get rewarded in this world, imagine those who are righteous, what reward they're going to get. Imagine the reward that is waiting for those who are righteous, those who preserve their holiness, those who preserve their dignity. Sorry, we skipped a little. Jealousy stems from a deficiency of the soul. When you don't feel internally pleased, you're jealous. Someone is jealous of the beauty of another person. What does it say about you? You're not comfortable with you. It's a basic psychology, right? When you are looking out, you're not looking in. You don't appreciate what you have in. You're not looking in. You're jealous about someone else's money, someone else's good looks, someone's house, someone's car, someone's family, because you're not looking at what you have. You're not pleased by what Hashem has declared for you. Hashem gave me this life. Hashem gave them that life. Oh, I'm not comfortable with what Hashem decreed here. Right? I want to appeal this judgment by the Almighty. Why did He give them this and not me? And this is like a servant who has only complaints about his master. Such a servant is not considered to be ein zeh eved ne'eman. V'kol shekain she'ein lehisraim al habori yisporach asher kol ma'aseh yishorim v'nechochim she'ein leharher acharov. Definitely, this is someone who's considered disloyal. It goes without saying that one should not rail against Hashem, all of whose deeds are just and right, and whose justice should not be questioned. Right? We know that Hashem is called the God of justice. So God doesn't give somebody something that they don't deserve. If someone got a reward, whether it be money, whether it be a beautiful wife, a beautiful children, a beautiful home, won the lottery of $2 billion, you know why they did? Because Hashem gifted it to them. Hashem said, this is the time, this is the place, this is the individual that deserves this. And when Hashem doesn't, we have to accept that lovingly, that Hashem says, this is not for you, and not now. And perhaps another time it is for you, but now it isn't. A person does not acquire a penny worth of anything if Hashem doesn't decree it. I've shared a story in the past of a baker in the old Jerusalem community of Mea She'arim. He had a bakery, and one of his workers that he had trained for years and years to run his shop, to run his bakery, taught him all the recipes, taught him everything. Guy's like, why should I work for, Mr. Goldstein? Let me open up my own bakery right across the street. And so he did. He went right across the street and opened up his own bakery. Competition to Mr. Goldberg. Mr. Goldberg went over to him, put his hand over his shoulder, and said, "Here, I want to help you. I'll tell you where to buy flour from. I'll tell you where to buy the machines from. I'll tell you where to buy all the goods, all the, everything that you need to make the delicious pastries." The family was so upset. Why is he giving? He's his competition. He's taking away his livelihood. What's wrong with you? Who would do that? Only someone righteous. You know why? He says back to his family. He says, it was decreed on Rosh Hashanah what I'm going to earn this year. This individual can't take anything away from me. Hashem already decreed what I'm going to make. I'm going to make that. If it's more, if it's less than what I made last year is irrelevant. What Hashem decreed. We have to understand there's a big picture here. The beautiful big picture here. Hashem gives us exactly what He decides is right for us. And that's what we have to learn to be happy with. Min hakina tova machlokas. You know what comes from jealousy? Dispute. You know who was jealous and then started a major dispute? In the book of Numbers, Korach. Kimo shetire bekorach. Shekine bechvod el tzafon ben Uziel. He was jealous of the honor that someone got. Mitoch kach nevad hu v'siato. Asher yonke shodayim. Afilu yonke shodayim. What happened was, as a result, was lost along with his entire assembly. Even the suckling infants were killed with Korach. The 250 people that were killed with Korach. Hakino livnei adam kechole haguf. Jealousy brings about, it's like physical illness to a person. It's a terrible, terrible thing. Vihi mivia shachefes. It brings terrible disease to a person when someone is jealous. Like your insides are eating you up. People who are looking at other people. Why did their children come out like that? Why were they accepted to that school? Why did they marry their children to such nice families? People can be jealous of so many different things. Why did they have a nicer car than me? Go back to that. People are always looking. I remember my father, his favorite car was a Lincoln Town Car. You remember the Lincoln Town Car? The big cars. My father wanted to buy a Lincoln Town Car his whole life. Never bought one. You know why? What will the neighbors say? Not in the way we think it. But my father would say, if I bought that car, my neighbor the next day will have to go and buy the same car. Walby has a Lincoln Town Car. I have to upgrade to a Lincoln Town Car as well. It was a statement car. Those of you who don't know, it's like today buying maybe like a cyber truck. It's like it's a statement car. You buy a Ferrari. It's like your neighbor starts thinking, maybe I should buy something a little bit better than a Toyota Camry. But that's what my father bought instead. He bought a Toyota Camry. Nobody's looking at a Toyota Camry and saying, oh, I'm jealous of that. Good car. Great car. Drives you place to place. It's reliable. It's dependable. Best-selling car. 20 out of the last 30 years in the United States. A good car. It's a reliable, dependable car. But nobody is jealous. Nobody's saying, ooh, I have to go out and get my next Camry. It's something which is expensive. And that's the reason my father never got it. He never got the Lincoln Town Car. Why? No need to poke out the eyes of your neighbor. And that's a responsibility that every person should feel, that they're responsible to ensure that their neighbor isn't jealous from them. Don't poke out their eyes. Not everyone is learning what we're learning here in the Orchot Tzaddikim and knows of the terrible pitfalls of jealousy. Illness comes from jealousy. to result. It leads a person that eats up their insides. Amar HaChacham Livno, King Solomon told his son, Hishamar L'cha min hakina. Be very, very careful. Guard yourself from envy. Ki hi nikeres b'cho sheponecho mishtanim miroa leiv. He says, listen to this. It is detected on a person. There's a change of appearance. You become bitter when you're jealous. And the man whom you envy rejoices in your heart's pain. Don't do it to yourself. Who sameach b'tzoras libcha, v'lama tisameach stonacha v'yikom b'cha. Why should you cause your foe to rejoice, and by doing so, take revenge on you? You're giving them all the cards. It's a very important thing for us to realize here. Jealousy does terrible, terrible damage to us. We become bitter people. Our own appearance starts to change. We become miserable people because we're looking at others and we're jealous of what they have and we want it and we're getting angry and we're getting mad. Why didn't God give it to me? To recognize that everything we have is a gift from Hashem. The good, the bad, the ugly, what appears to be ugly to us, but it's not, really the greatest gift. How many times did I hear from people, cannot believe God did this to me? To then open their eyes and see that this was the greatest gift, whether it was them losing their job, whether it was losing their home, whatever it was only to open new doors that they would never have opened had that door not been shut in front of them, or them not be viciously thrown out. It would stay there, comfortable, why not? And throws them out, that they now open new doors. My dear friends, this concludes day number 84. And now we are going to resume day number 85 in the ways of the righteous, the gates of envy. Page 507 on top. Treasure for Life edition, of course. Hamekane chomes nafsho. Someone who is envious robs himself. You're robbing from yourself. You're stealing from yourself. Yuhumisabel tamid. He's always downtrodden. He's always downcast. He's always sad. Bisichlo mischase mirov kino temuna bikirbo. His intellect is depleted because of the great envy buried within him. Ve'ein libo panu lilmod v'liispalul bekavana v'lasos masim tovim. And his heart is not free to study and pray with concentration and to do good deeds. Kol odom motze tam ore v'ma'acholo chutz min hamikane. All people find great, delicious flavor in their food, except for someone who's jealous. Someone who's jealous, his food doesn't taste good. Why? There's no flavor in life. You're stealing from yourself. She'eino to'am tam tova ma'acholo, ad shetosur hatova mechavero. He's not going to be happy. Nothing's going to taste good. Nothing's going to feel good till the good departs from his friend. L'chol sino yesh tikva. For all hatred, there is hope. She'im yisna chavero avur shigzalo, tosor hasino k'sheyashiv lo osadavar. If your friend hates you because you stole something, as soon as you return that object that was stolen, there's no more hatred. V'chein kol sina hatluya b'davar acher. K'shiyitukan hadavar, hahu tisbatel hasina. You know, it's like today we're seeing in front of our eyes an example of this, that when there's a hatred, because you steal something, because you're being unjust, when you resolve that unjust behavior, Suddenly, there's understanding, there's acceptance. It's almost like what we're seeing with this standoff with the United States and Canada and Mexico, where suddenly, like first it's like shock and hate. I can't believe it. But then they realize, 1 second, we've been cheating the system perhaps. We haven't been doing our proper due responsibility to protect the border, et cetera, et cetera. Suddenly they start doing it. And suddenly there's no more hatred, there's no more anger. It's an amazing thing. As soon as this particular matter is resolved, there's no more grievances. Amar chacham livnoi al tekane be'achicha al asher yeshlo yehu yin'am b'chayov ve'ato tispa de'ogo v'tzar. A very, very wise man once said to his son, do not envy your brother for what he has, for his life will be pleasant and you will be filled with worry and grief. Who suffers when you're jealous? Only you. Only you. It's not that your friend is living a great life. It's that in your eyes, when you're jealous, you think everything everybody else has is better than yours. In your mind, you set this idea, oh, they're just so successful. They have no problems in their marriage. They have no problems with their kids. They have no problems buying whatever house they want. They have no problems in their job. What happens? We don't know what's going on with them. It doesn't really matter what's going on with them. But when we don't feel fulfilled within, then we're looking out. Ki harbe bnei adam gormim sheyiskanu bahem kishem lovshem begadim noim ve'enam min mehanim acherim mishalahem ozhem gorim sheyiskanu bahem. He says there are many people who cause jealousy in others. Sorry, I think I skipped again. Ve'ata tispa de'ogo b'atzar ve'amar hacham lo nivra mikane ve'achomed elo lichaas. The envier and desirer, the person who desires, were created only for anger. The only result of someone who's envious, who's jealous, the only result is anger. The early sages would pray, that we should not be jealous of others and others shouldn't be jealous of us. This is part of our prayer in the Sephard, in the Nusach Sfard Siddur. I'll pull it up right here. Nusach Sfard is the Sephardic dialect of prayer. So they say the following, right at the end of the Amidah, right before they say Oseh Shalom Bimromav, they say the following. I'm just going to pull it up right here. Okay. Okay, so here's what they say. May it be your will, Hashem, God of my forefathers and my God, that others' jealousy should not come upon me, and I shouldn't be jealous of others. That means I shouldn't be the reason that other people are jealous. People shouldn't look at me and be jealous. I don't want to be the pitfall. You know, there's a verse in the Torah that says, oh, he's going to bring it right over here. Okay? It says, Lefnei iver lo sitein michshol. You shall not place a stumbling block before the blind. When we cause other people to be jealous, we're putting a stumbling block in front of the blind. But they can see. They're blind to this matter. They're blind to this matter. Why is this the thing they're praying about? That others shouldn't be jealous of me. Maybe others shouldn't hurt me. Others shouldn't steal from me. No, that's not part of the prayer. That others shouldn't be jealous of me. This is the way to understand this. Ki harbe b'nei adam gormim sheyiskanu behem. Many people cause others to be jealous of them. Shem lov shem b'gadim noim. They wear very fancy clothes. Ve'eno mehanim acher mishalahem. And they don't avail others of. They don't share what they have with others. Ozhem gormim sheyiskanu behem v'yachmedu osam. They're causing other people to be jealous of them. Therefore, they would pray alacherim. They would pray for others. Ki ulai heim gormim hakino laacher. Maybe they are causing others to be jealous. That Torah Amar, and the Torah already told us in Leviticus 19, verse 14. You shall not place a stumbling block in front of the blind. Therefore, it is a good trait for a person not to wear too fancy of clothes. Not him, not his wife. And not his children. And not to have too much of fancy food, fancy wines, fancy scotch and bourbon. Don't be too fancy. Don't drive fancy cars. That nobody should be jealous as a result. But someone who is blessed by the Almighty with tremendous wealth, don't make yourself fancy and exclusive. On the contrary, let other people enjoy. When you let's say the fancy guy has a ton of money, has a beautiful pool in his backyard, let other people use it. Share it with others. I remember listening to a lecture many years ago. Someone was talking about happiness. He says, nobody needs to see your family photos when you took your whole family to Disneyland. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to see it. You're just making other people jealous. You're making their lives miserable. You went on a cruise, good for you. Keep it to yourself. Nobody needs to know. Do you want the responsibility of someone getting into debt because they're jealous of the cruise that you took? Because they're jealous of the vacation you had? They're jealous of the food you eat or the wine you drink? Be private. Nobody needs to know. Don't be the reason someone else does terrible things because they saw something from you on your Facebook status, your Facebook post, or your Twitter post. Oh, he's vacationing. I also have to start vacationing. You can't afford it. Okay, I'll cheat, lie, and steal. And borrow. And have no way to pay it back. Terrible thing. So not only you, but your wife, your children, make sure that they don't do things that cause others to become jealous. That other people should not become jealous of you. He says, the key, if you are very wealthy, share it with others. Poor people, like wealthy people, let them enjoy from what you have. Be pleasant with other people. Be uptight. Oh, don't go into my kitchen. You can't touch my fancy dishes. You can't, no, share it. Fine. Nachas. With pleasantness. Biyase imoim chesed. And do kindness with them. We already mentioned how important it is for a person to be beloved to others and by others. And when a person is beloved by all mankind, then people are not jealous, and people are not envious, and people don't desire what you have, Mishalom. But rather, it is proper for one to ascend to the highest virtue of all and that which brings glory to him, and others will aspire to emulate him. Yikanu v'yachmudu lasas kamohu. Be virtuous. Be great. Be elevated higher. Not in a physical, materialistic way, but in a spiritual way. Hide your success. Umish nizar shalo yikane ein gufo kole ela toloim sholt ela hatoloim sholtembo. And one who guards himself against envy, his body does not ein gufo kole. His body does not disintegrate, and worms have no power over him, as it is written, and the rottenness of the bones is envy. So someone who's jealous, that's the result. But someone who helps others not be jealous, doesn't stick out, doesn't show off, doesn't make other people jealous, such a person who brings no envy to others will be protected from the disintegration and the worms of our afterlife, okay, after we pass away from this world. One who has envy in his heart, his bones will rot. Anyone whose heart is free of envy, of jealousy, his bones will not rot. That's the Talmud says that. Tractate Shabbat. Therefore, one should keep himself far from envy and desire, and not desire anything possessed by others. And a person should not say, I can desire what my friend has and give him money for it. I desire what he has, and I'll pay for it. I see he has a nice watch, I'll just buy his watch. I see he has a nice car, I'll just buy his car. It's jealousy, not allowed to do that. Right? It's a biblical sin, by the way. Lo yomar echmod binyani chaveri. I'll be jealous. Ve'etin lamos avur oso inyan. Shim ein daita limkor inyanov, os osu lezela haftziro, kize yizbayesh lohoshiv panav rekam. Because if you desire to buy what he has, and what's if he doesn't want to sell it? He doesn't want to make you feel bad. He doesn't want to hurt you. He doesn't want to embarrass you. So what's going to be? He's going to sell it even though he doesn't want to. You're pressuring him to sell it. He doesn't want to let you down. Im kain havi kamo ones. This is very, very similar to someone being forced to do something against their will. L'chein v'chein v'chol shekain. Im zeh chomed ish nechbad. If the person who's jealous is a prominent person, a distinguished person, she'im yishal she'elo, he's going to ask his friend, or ponov lo yapilun, she'osu lishol mechaver ma biyado, mikach o matana, im einu yodea she'yitin lo b'nefesh chavetza. You're not allowed to request something that they can't refuse. Right? So if you, it's especially forbidden for a distinguished person whose request will certainly not be refused to solicit a purchase or a gift from his neighbor if he is not certain that it will be given wholeheartedly. You know that they're going to give it. They feel bad. So they're giving it. You're coercing them to do something they really don't want to do. It says mashal, a parable to this is chomed umikanai holchu yachta baderach. A king once met a desire and an envier walking together on the road and said to them, let one of you ask for something and it will be given to you, and the other will get twice as much. All right? Paga b'amelech echad amar lehem amelech echad mikem yishal davar mimeni v'yinasein lo. He's going to get exactly one. V'chavero iflayim. His friend will get double. So the jealous one, lo ratza lishol tchila. The jealous one didn't want to ask first. Hakanai lo ratza lishol tchila. Shahoya miskane iminosin lechavero kif b'chiflayim. Because whatever I'm going to ask for $10 million. My friend is now going to get 20 million. Right? Oh, can't do that. Can't let that happen. Ve'achomed hu misave l'shnei chalokim. The other guy who is jealous, he is dealing with a different problem. He wants both of them. He wants what he's going to get and what his friend is going to get. L'sof dochak hachomed et sakanoi lishol tchila. Finally, the envier asked first, Ashal akanoi linaker lo ein achas. He says, here's my request. I want you to poke out one of my eyes. This is what he tells the king. So that both eyes will be taken out of the other guy. This is a terrible thing. You had the opportunity to ask anything you wanted. Only thing you can, it hurts you to see your friend succeed. It hurts you. It's a terrible, terrible downfall for man when we have this terrible trait of jealousy. My dear friends, now we resume with day number 86. Kol ra'ois, kama rois tluyos bekino. How many evils emerge from envy? Nachash hakadmoini miskane be'odom rishon v'gar misal olam. The original sin of the world, which was the serpent, was jealous of Adam and Eve and brought death to the world. There was no death till that time. You know that? They were going to live for all eternity. That brought death to the world. And about the snake, what does it say? You shall walk upon your stomach and you shall eat dust. And look at all of these people in our history, whether it be Cain, who killed Abel, Korach, Bilam, Doeg, Achitophel, Gehazi, Adoniah, all of these stories in Malachim, in Shmuel, in Kings, in Samuel 2, story after story after story, who desired what was not theirs. Lo dai ma shebikshu lo nitan lahem, ela af ma shebiyadam nitan lahem. Not only that what they desired they did not attain, what they had in their hand they lost as well. Mikol eli yilmad odam sheyifresh min kino min achemda. From this, a person should learn to distance himself from envy and desire. V'yachshov ki afilu ma shebiyado eino shelo. And just know that even what's in your hand right now is not even yours. It's a gift from Hashem. Ki mochar bo ve'eino. Tomorrow, you know what can happen tomorrow? It can all be taken away from you. Uma yoel lo she'eino shelo. What will it benefit you when it's not yours? Al ze ne'amar ki lo teida ma yoeled yom. Person, it says in King Solomon teaches us in Proverbs, for you do not know what the day will bring. You don't know what tomorrow will bring. We're so confident in today. I know. Be careful. The great reward that awaits for a person who is careful of envy, desire, and temptation. Kibirov ha'averos im adam over aleim umizbayesh umonea atzmo b'shvil abusha monea atzmo min agzelu v'agneva. In most cases, in most sins, if a person is embarrassed, he'll avoid. For in most transgressions, a man stands to suffer shame if he transgresses, and he restrains himself because of this. For example, He restrains himself from robbery and theft out of fear that he will be revealed, exposed, and publicized, and that he will be put to shame and suffer a great loss. His picture will be on the most wanted list. He'll have the perp walk on the FBI, on CNN early in the morning. He's bayish for Yafsid Harbe. Be very embarrassed. Aval akina v'achemdo hein balev. But the jealousy, the desire of what someone else has is inside our heart. Ein adam makir bo im yachmod o yikane. It's difficult for a person to identify what that trait is. Udavar amosur lalev. This is inside the heart. V'al zenemar v'yoresi v'yoresa melokecha. Have fear from your God, from Hashem. Even though jealousy is a very terrible trait, there is a place for a jealousy that is good. This is what we mentioned earlier. There's a place for jealousy which is good. What is that? What's that jealousy that's good? That a person should be jealous of that which is extremely good and noble, the fear of Hashem. Fear of Hashem, as it is written, Al yikane libcha b'chatoim ki'im b'yiras Hashem kol hayom. Let your heart not envy, says King Solomon in Proverbs. Rather be in awe of Hashem all the day. And this is what our sages of blessed memory said. Kinas sofrim tar b'chochma. The jealousy of the sages, of the rabbis, of the scholars, only of the scribes, only increases wisdom. Imagine that. Tar b'chochma. It only adds wisdom. Two schools that are one across from the other are going to compete, right? You know who benefits? The children. The children, because now they have a better, they're going to go for better teachers. They're going to try to hire the best teachers. They're going to try to have the best sports teams, the best coaches. Who's going to benefit? Children, right? With Torah study, the Rebbe, the rabbi is the coach. He's the spiritual coach. Ki yir'eh adam shalomed yitfos kina belibo b'yomar lomed ze kol hayom gam ani esekein. He'll see somebody learning Torah, and he says, I'm so jealous. This guy is sitting and learning Torah seriously. I want to sit and learn Torah too. V'chein le'inyan kol hamitzvos v'amidas hatovos. Same with all of the mitzvahs and the good deeds. All the mitzvahs. You see someone doing Yikane kol echad b'chaver v'yitfos maaseh chaver hatovim. You see your friend is doing something good? How can I duplicate that and bring that into my life? Im yireh rasha v'yesh bo midah achas tova. If he sees a terrible person, but he has one good trait. One good trait. Yikanehu al osa hamido yasena gamhu. He's someone who's, very, 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 lives a very large life, not a very good person per se, but he does great acts of kindness. Learn how to do the great acts of kindness. Learn what you can from the person who is doing, even if it's only one thing. Aval mekana bechaver shuasik bator v'masim tovim ve'eno mekana bo sheyachshov ze ose kach gam ani esekein el yachshov belivu v'yikana bo mipnei sheyesh bo malos tovas yosem mimeni machmas kach hu nechbad be'enei ha'olam yosem mimeni u'mechashev tachbolos kedei levatlo u'lebalbolo metoroso v'masav hatovim arei zo sakino hiro chole. He says, if what you're jealous of is not that someone is studying Torah, you're jealous that people honor him for it. You're not jealous of and saying, I want to be a great Torah scholar too. No, it just bothers you that they're getting honored for it. So then you're going to be tempted, pull them down, to distract them from their study, to drive them crazy so that now they're not going to be at their status that they could be. He says this type of jealousy is sick. He says not only you're a sinner, but you're also sinning, causing others to sin. This is a companion of Yeravam ben Nevat. Such a person has no portion in the world to come. He says now as follows. La'olam yichabed adam yirei shamayim v'lomdei Torah v'oskim b'mitzvos. A person should always honor those who are studying Torah, those who are fearful of God and are observing His mitzvahs. V'yiten lehem yad v'yisayeya lohem begufa b'mono. Do everything you can to give them a hand, to assist them, to support them with your physical abilities, with your financial abilities. Let other people be jealous of the goodness that you're doing, of the good deeds. If this person is being recognized for his good deeds, we'll do the same and hopefully will be recognized. When we talk shalolishma balishma, and that's fine. Because when you do something not for the right reason, at the end you'll come to do it for the right reason. So if let's say you see someone gets their name on a building, they donated all this money and have their name on the building. Wow, it's very special. I want my name on a building too. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to donate money just to get my name on the building. That good? Not great, that's for sure. Just say it's a good thing to give charity, even if it's for a bad cause internally. I'm doing it for the honor, I'm not doing it for the right reason. Just say because it's a good deed, do it. Because what's going to happen is eventually you'll give charity for the right intention. Imagine what happens the next day is like, did I have to give it to have my name on the building? I should just give it to give it. I should just give it to do because it's the right thing to do. Because I'm a good person. Because I have what to give, so let me give. People sometimes don't maximize their potential in the beginning, but because it's a good deed, one good deed leads to another good deed, which leads to another good deed, which leads to another good deed. And that's how we build this world and make it a great place. So this concludes day number 86. And now, my dear friends, we're on day 87. We're about to conclude the gate of envy. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Almighty said, Kanei li, be envious on my behalf. For if not for envy, the world would not exist, and man would not plant a vineyard or marry a woman or build a house. She'ilmali akina eina olam omed, ein adam notea kerem, ve'ein adam nose isha, ve'ein adam bone bayis. This is the Medrash says this. Ki kol elu ha'inyonim boim machmas she'adam mekane b'chaveiro. These things come when a person is jealous. Person is jealous. He says, look at my friend. He has a wife. He has children. He's settled. I'm also going to get a wife and have children and be settled. When a person establishes a home, someone else will say, I want to do the same. Same thing with getting married. Someone is jealous. Oh, look at him. He's so happy with his wife. I'm also going to get married. It brings the desire for others to find matrimony. Since the world exists from jealousy, a person should be very careful that all jealousy should be for the sake of heaven. You're building a house? Where did you get that desire to build a house? Jealousy. Make a special room in the house for the study of Torah. That will keep the house alive. Make your home a place for all righteous people to gather in. And to bring guests into your home. Means utilize. You're going to build the house. Utilize it for good causes. I know people, sadly, because their house is so fancy, they don't want anybody in the house. No visitors, no guests. We don't want you ruining the floors, not the carpets. We don't want that. People who used to have open homes. I remember this very, very clearly when I grew up. People used to have an open home, friendly people. Then they built a new house. Suddenly the kids couldn't bring friends anymore because they don't want you ruining their new house. You couldn't borrow their stuff anymore because we don't want you destroying our property, our possessions. I'm just borrowing you. No, not anymore. Terrible thing. But what do you need to do? You're jealous of others. You're building a fancy house. Use it for the right reasons, and then you're only adding goodness to it. The last spoke chesed l'bnei adam. Do kindness with the things that you have. You know what? You buy a fancy schmancy car. Who owns it? Do you own the car, or does the car own you? You know, a good test, a good barometer. Someone asks you to borrow the car. Will you lend it to them? It owns you. You're like, nah, it's not the type. I don't want it to get scratched. I'm afraid you're going to get into an accident. I don't have insurance. You have all the excuses in the world. All the excuses in the world. You want to do something, all the excuses in the world are thrown out, and you do it. V'chein amru, ilule shekine Avram lo haya kaina shemayim v'aretz. If Abraham was not envious, he wouldn't have attained such greatness. When was he jealous? When he said to Melchizedek, how did you get out of the ark? How did you get out of the ark? Because of all the kindness that we did. Amar lo, who was Melchizedek? That was Shem. Shem was one of the children of Noach. So he says, what did you do? Amar lo, what tzedakah? What kindness? What charity did you do inside the ark? Were there poor people there that you were giving charity to? The only people that were there was Noach and his sons and daughters-in-law. With who did you do kindness? You're saying you survived the great flood only because of your kindness. Amar lo, he said to him, you want to know what kindness we did? Because of the animals, because of the birds, because of the insects, we didn't sleep. We were feeding them all day and all night. Osa Shah Amar Avram Avinu, Abraham, our patriarch, as soon as he heard this, he said, Uma elu, ilule, she'asu tzedakah, ima behema v'chay v'of lo yotzim, chen she'asu, kevan she'asu tzedakah yatsu. He says, look at these people, Noach and his children. The only reason they survived was because they fed the animals. The animals. He says, then me, if I will do acts of kindness to mankind, that they are made mankind, who's made in the image of God, even more so that I will be rewarded and I will survive. At that moment, Abraham established his home in Beersheba, Roshe Tevos Achilo Shtio Leviya. And we know that, what did he do, Eshel? He established his home to be a place that people could come eat and drink, and he would escort them, he'd make them feel good. Vel derech zu yarbe adam kina. He was jealous. Look at them, they survived because of their good deeds. Abraham says, I myself need to do good deeds as well, because this is something that if I see that their survival was based because of this, so too mine can. A person should also be zealous against sinners and evildoers, to reprimand them and to chastise them and to oppose them. As our sages have told us, the one who cohabits with an Aramean woman, zealots may strike him down. Moshe was zealous against the Egyptians, as is written, and he smote the Egyptians. Moshe kine es hamitzri, shene'amar vayak es hamitzri. And we see the same with Elijah. Shene'amar kano kinesi la Hashem Elokei tzavokos ki ozvu brischa bnei Yisrael. V'chein ne'amar bepinchos bikanos kin osi b'socham. Hashem Yisbarach nasan lo gmula al kach, and we know that Elijah the prophet was given great reward because he stood up for Hashem. Moshe Nemer, inini nosan lo es brisi shalom. I'm making an eternal covenant with Elijah. V'nemer lo saguru mipnei ish, as the verse states, do not be afraid of any man. Mi shehu yirei Hashem Yisbarach yimsor nafsho al kedushas Hashem Yisbarach. Anybody who is truly God-fearing will give his life for God. Mila Hashem elai ve'osvoi love kol bnei Levi. When Moshe asked, who is for Hashem? Come to me. And what happened? The sons of Levi gathered themselves together to Moshe. What happened? As a result, v'nemer v'yar Pinchos ben Elazar ben Aaron HaKohen v'yakom mitoch ha'eda v'yikach romach biyodo. What happened? Pinchas, the son of Elazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw that there was terrible things going on in the camp, and he arose from the midst of the congregation and took a spear in his hand. So we see that he stood up for the word of Hashem, stood up for what was right. It is incumbent upon every God-fearing Jew, Ashuhu tahor lev, who is pure of heart, lahoir kino al kiyireh behine yad asorim ve'azgonim bimal. On behalf of Hashem, we should be zealous. The hands of the princes and rulers in crime, we should stand up against them. V'amru Rabbeinu Zochron Levrocha, kol pirtza she'eino min agdolim, eino pirtza, she'nemar v'yad asorim ve'azgonim hoisa b'mal hazeh rishona. Says that any breach which is not made by the great is not a breach. So if someone is concerned with the honor of Hashem, they're going to stand up and do what is required to make sure that the will of Hashem is not overrun by people, even if they're greatly powerful people. So when we conclude here the gate of envy, we have to realize that envy is a very, very powerful internal negative trait. Why is it internal? It comes from external things that we see, but it's an internal dissatisfaction. That perhaps from within, I don't feel pleased. Within, I'm not comfortable. So therefore, I look out. And then I see and I think that that is going to fill me. The truth is, it doesn't fill us. External things don't fill us. Only internal things fill us. We have to realize this is so important for us to ensure that we don't look out, look in. Look at how much we do have. In our morning prayers, we have a prayer podcast. We're working on every day, every week. Tomorrow morning, we'll have class here at 10:30 in the morning. But in this podcast, we are working hard to understand the morning blessing. The importance of appreciating what it is that you do have. We have so many incredible gifts. The ability to have a beautiful sunrise and sunset to have a clock on our hands, a watch on our hands that tells time so that we know what time is day, what time is night, what time is midday. It's something to be grateful for. That Hashem made you the way you are. That Hashem gave you a soul, a lofty soul, gives us a body that functions properly. These are all incredible gifts. When we look inside, we realize how precious our life is. My dear friends, let's go out there and earn a great life by looking in, not by looking out. Don't look what other people have. But if you do see even an evil person has a good trait, be jealous of the good trait. Acquire that good trait. Make it part of you. If there is something that you're jealous of, make sure it's something good that you're jealous of. Not something futile, not money, not something material, something spiritual, something that will help you become closer to God. My dear friends, have a magnificent evening, and I look forward to continuing next week with more teachings from the Orchot Tzaddikim. Next week's topic will be the gate of alacrity or eagerness. My dear friends, have a great week.